Rob, please don't do this. You don't understand who you're dealing with. Those were Grace's first words as every account she owned, every secret file she hid, and every lie she built her life on collapsed at her feet, all during what should have been our honeymoon. She thought she married her biggest target. Instead, she married the man who would unravel her entire past without raising his voice once. What happened next will change the way you see marriages, manipulators, and silent revenge forever. Viewers, what's the worst betrayal you've ever uncovered? Let's talk in the com. And yes, subscribe, like, comment, and watch till the ending to share this interesting to family and free. And yes, if you think this was the end of Nia and Marcus, you'd be wrong. But to understand how a honeymoon became the battleground that destroyed a marriage before it even began, you need to know who I am, and why I saw every sign long before she realized I was watching. My name is Robbinson Bark, 33 years old, born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. I work as a financial crime investigator, the kind of job that makes you allergic to trust. My whole life revolves around catching patterns, dissecting lies, and tracing money trails people pray I'll never find. I'm the guy who spots inconsistencies in a conversation the same way others notice typos in a text. Maybe that's because I grew up in a home where lies echoed louder than arguments. My father was a pastor, calm, composed, terrifyingly observant. My mother, well, she loved attention more than she loved stability. When I was 10 years old, I woke to shouting in the living room. I remember peeking down the hallway and seeing my father's hands shaking as he held a stack of printed emails, messages between my mother and some man. I remember my mother crying, begging, apologizing. I remember my father whispering, "A lie always twitches before it speaks." And then I remember silence, years of silence. That silence raised me. It shaped me. It warned me. So when I met Nia Carter years later, bright-eyed, honey-voiced, magnetic in a way that made rooms tilt toward her, I should have known someone like me had no business marrying someone like her. But love is loud even when your instincts are screaming. She smiled in a way that made my suspicion feel cynical. She laughed in a way that made my caution feel paranoid. She touched my chest and said, "You're the safest person I've ever known," and I believed her because I wanted to believe her. We dated for 2 years. Steady, peaceful, no big fights. She always said her last relationship broke her. She told me her ex, Marcus, played with her heart, drained her finances, ruined her confidence, claimed she barely escaped him. She painted herself as a survivor of emotional manipulation, and I, the man who makes a career out of detecting deception, convinced myself she couldn't possibly be lying about something that painful. That's the thing about liars. They don't always look like villains. Sometimes they look like people you die for. Our wedding was perfect. Too perfect, maybe. She cried during her vows, voice trembling as she promised I was her home, her future, her peace. Our families clapped. Friends cheered. People said we looked like a couple out of a magazine. Honeymoon in Bali. A private villa overlooking the ocean. A dream destination for a dream marriage. But the thing about dreams? They always end. And for me, the dream ended the moment my new wife stepped into the shower on our second day, and her phone lit up with a message that made my heart stop cold. Nia's phone buzzed again. At first I didn't look. I told myself it was probably the resort confirming our dinner reservation or some promotional text message from the airline. I wasn't the type to snoop, despite what my job trained me for. But the phone didn't stop buzzing. It vibrated twice, paused, then a third notification appeared. The screen lit up against the marble counter, reflecting faint light across the dim villa. And then I saw it, the name. Marcus. Her ex. The man she cried about the night she told me she never wanted to feel powerless again. The man she called a mistake she wished she'd never made. The name alone pulled a thread inside my chest. A familiar thread, the same one I saw unravel my parents' marriage years ago. I felt that same cold suspicion creeping in, sliding up my spine like a whisper. Here we go again. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. The preview alone was enough to split reality open. I miss you. Last time was unforgettable. Does he still not know? Marcus. My heart didn't drop, it hardened. Suspicion didn't explode, it crystallized. Nia's voice drifted from the bathroom, soft and carefree, humming a song she always sang when she felt relaxed. She had no idea her lies were unraveling on the countertop. Steam rolled out through the crack of the bathroom door. The shower water pattered like nothing in the world was wrong. I turned away from the phone, walked toward the balcony, gripping the railing until my knuckles went white. The ocean roared below, fierce, endless, indifferent. I stared out at the waves crashing against the rocks and felt something inside me shift. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Calculation. It's strange, heartbreak makes some people fall apart. But for me, it makes things clearer. I tried to force myself to consider alternate explanations. Maybe it was an old message. Maybe he was texting her out of nowhere. Maybe she didn't respond. Maybe she didn't cheat. But the preview didn't lie. Last time. That meant recent. And last time didn't sound like something she would keep quiet about if she had really changed. As I stood there, the breeze cooling the sweat on my forehead, a flashback cut through me sharply. The day Nia told me Marcus was no longer a part of her life. We were in her apartment then, the one with the tiny kitchen and the window that faced a brick wall. She was trembling as she said it, voice cracking, tears streaming down. I held her, comforted her, told her she was safe with me. She cried harder then, tears that now felt rehearsed. And suddenly, something else from that day replayed in my mind, something I ignored before. She told me Marcus said he would never let her go. She said he hated losing. She said he always resurfaced when he felt she was slipping away. And now here he was, resurfacing on our honeymoon. The water in the shower shut off. I heard her humming fade, followed by the sound of her towel rustling. I took a deep breath, forcing my heartbeat to slow. This wasn't the time to confront her. Not on instinct. Not with only a preview. I needed answers, real ones. Hard ones. The kind that leave no room for doubt. The bathroom door clicked open. Nia stepped out, wrapped in a towel, smiling, glowing, untouched by the storm she'd created without knowing. Babe? Dinner soon? Her eyes sparkled. Mine didn't. I smiled back, or something close to a smile. And in that moment I made a decision that would change everything. I wouldn't confront her yet. I would watch. And I would wait for the truth to show itself. Because liars always slip. Always. Please don't forget to subscribe. Dinner that night should have been romantic. The kind of honeymoon dinner couples take pictures of and frame for years. But for me everything felt off. Too bright. Too staged. Too performed. The restaurant sat on a deck overlooking the ocean, lit with lanterns that swayed in the warm Bali breeze. Soft music played, waves crashed rhythmically, and the sky shifted from a burning orange to the deep purple of dusk. The whole scene looked like a postcard. But Nia, she was the flaw in the picture. She kept glancing at her phone. Not obviously, subtly. A quick tilt of her head, a glance down, a small smile she tried to hide behind her wine glass. I recognized that smile. I'd seen it once before, the night she told me about Marcus, the night she said she was finally over him. Except back then she wasn't smiling at me. She was smiling at a memory she didn't want to admit she missed. And now she wasn't smiling at me either. The waiter poured wine and Nia laughed too loudly at something I said, something that wasn't even funny. That was the first twitch, the one my father warned me about. The laugh of someone trying to act normal. Trying too hard. I watched her fingers drum nervously on the table. Watched her eyes dart every time a phone vibrated on a nearby table, even when it wasn't hers. Watched her thumb brush her lip the way it always did when she was keeping something in. Robbie, she said softly, using the nickname she reserved for tender moments, you're quiet. I shrugged. Just tired. She nodded, but I could see the calculation behind her eyes. She was checking, measuring, wondering if I saw anything I shouldn't have. The tension between us felt like a rope pulled too tight. A flashback hit me suddenly, sharp and unexpected. 3 months before the wedding, we were in my apartment packing boxes for the move. She found an old, dusty photo album from my college years. Inside it was a picture of my ex, Maya, a woman I had no feelings for anymore. But Nia stared at that picture with a fire I'd never seen in her. You still keep this? It's just an old album, I said. Still, she muttered, lips tight, some things shouldn't stay around. Jealousy. Possessiveness. A spark of insecurity she tried to drown with confidence. And in that moment she ripped the picture out of the album and tossed it in the trash. I should have recognized the pattern then, the way Nia destroyed anything she feared losing control over. Back at the restaurant, her phone vibrated again. This time she didn't even hide it. She turned slightly, angling the screen away from me, the glow highlighting her cheekbone. Work? I asked casually. She froze for a fraction of a second. A twitch, tiny but unmistakable. It's him? Oh yeah. Time difference is crazy, right? Her smile was too quick, too tight. She put the phone face down on the table. But here's the thing about observing people for a living. You can feel truth bend. That vibration wasn't a work email. The timing was too perfect, her reaction too rehearsed. As the waiter placed our entrees in front of us, Nia lifted her glass and said, to us. To a beautiful beginning. I clinked her glass. We smiled at each other. But inside, something irreversible shifted. The beginning wasn't beautiful. It was fragile. And it was already cracking. As the lantern light flickered across her face, I finally admitted something I'd been avoiding since the moment I saw that message. Something was very, very wrong with my wife. And this, dinner, laughter, fake warmth, was just the calm before the collapse. Back at the villa, everything felt quieter, too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin tighten, the kind that holds an unspoken truth inside it. The lanterns flickered outside, their golden light swimming across the patio floor. The ocean whispered in the background, soft but restless. Nia was different the moment we got back. Fidgety. Distracted. Smiling in bursts that faded too quickly. She moved around the room like someone trying to outrun their own thoughts, dropping her sandals, rearranging her toiletries, humming a few notes of a tune she didn't finish. She was creating noise because silence threatened to expose what she was hiding. I sat on the edge of the bed, unlacing my shoes, watching her from the corner of my eye. I saw her check the time. I saw her glance at her phone. I saw her take a deep breath as if preparing for something. Then she did something so small, yet so revealing. She turned her phone off. Completely off. Nia never turned her phone off. Ever. That was the moment the memory hit me, clear as glass. A year and a half earlier we were at the movies. Her phone kept buzzing and she kept silencing it, her jaw tight, eyes glued to the screen but clearly not watching it. "What's wrong?" I whispered. "Nothing. Work stuff," she said quickly, sounding annoyed. Then the phone buzzed again and she panicked so hard she dropped it. When I bent to pick it up, she practically lunged at me. "Don't, I'll get it," she snapped, breath uneven. Marcus had texted her then too. She told me later she was cutting him off. I wanted to believe her. The flashback faded as she walked over now, her legs brushing mine. She slid her arms around my neck from behind, rested her chin on my shoulder, breathed a soft, shaky sigh. "You okay, Robbie?" she asked. The tone was gentle but not concerned, probing. I nodded. "Fine. You were quiet during dinner." "Just thinking." She hesitated just for a split second. "About what?" There it was again, that twitch. Fear wrapped in curiosity. I kept my expression neutral. "You." "The future." She relaxed. Or pretended to. Her grip on my shoulders loosened, and she walked to the bathroom mirror, adjusting her curls like she needed something to do with her hands. "Good," she said softly. "That's good." The next moment sliced the room open. She turned around, smiled at me through the mirror and said, "Marcus would be so jealous if he saw how happy we are." My entire body froze. She didn't realize what she'd said, not at first. But the second her own words reached her ears, her smile collapsed. Her face blanched. Her eyes widened like someone waking up mid-nightmare. I meant... She swallowed hard. "I meant, Robbie, I'm tired, that's all, I just..." Her excuses tripped over each other, tangled and desperate. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't speak. She had slipped. For real this time. Not a suspicious message. Not a nervous twitch. Not a lie wrapped in sweetness. A name. His name. Falling out of her mouth in a moment she thought was safe. And in that instant, the facade she worked so hard to hold up crumbled just enough for me to see the truth behind it. She wasn't torn. She wasn't confused. She wasn't slipping. She was living two lives. And one of him, the one with me, was the L. Please don't forget to subscribe. That night, after Nia mumbled a shaky string of excuses and crawled into bed early, far earlier than usual, I lay beside her, listening to her breathing. Slow. Controlled. Not peaceful. Practiced. Her back was turned to me, her shoulders unnaturally still, like she was forcing herself to sleep to avoid talking, to avoid explaining, to avoid slipping again. But the damage was done. Her tongue had betrayed her. Her panic confirmed it. I waited. Waited for her breathing to shift into the heavy rhythm of real sleep. Waited for the faint twitch in her leg that always came when she drifted deeply. Waited for her hand to stop gripping the blanket like she was holding onto a lifeline. 30 minutes. 40. 50. Then finally, the release. Her body softened. Her breaths deepened. Her face relaxed into the same peaceful mask she wore on the morning of our wedding. That was my cue. Quiet as my own father used to be when he walked past my room during those silent, broken years, I slipped out of bed. The floor was cool under my feet as I crossed the villa. The moonlight spilled in through the open curtains, casting long, sharp shadows across the room, like bars of a cage I didn't realize I'd been living in. I opened my laptop on the desk, its faint glow illuminating the darkness. This was supposed to be a honeymoon. But now it was an investigation. And investigations were my world. Every financial crime case I ever solved began with one rule. People lie. Patterns don't. So I opened our shared cloud storage. Not to spy but to confirm. To understand. I wasn't looking for gossip. I was looking for truth. Years of digital forensics experience kicked in. Within minutes, I mirrored her phone's backup into a secure folder. No password barriers. She trusted me. She never hid access. Ironically, her openness made uncovering her secrets easier. My screen filled with files. Old photos. Recent messages. Voice notes. Travel confirmations. Deleted thread fragments she probably assumed were gone forever. I clicked the most recent archive. A cascade of messages scrolled across the screen. My pulse didn't spike. My hands didn't shake. I was beyond shock. Beyond anger. This was clarity. The first message from Marcus made my blood run cold. We shouldn't have met 2 days before the wedding, but damn. I can't stop thinking about you. 2 days before the wedding. While I was choosing cufflinks. While she was crying about nerves. While her mother was praying over her dress. I opened the next message. Bali is perfect. I told you he's too blind to notice anything. My jaw tightened. The pattern formed instantly. Cleanly. Perfectly. Nia had been playing both sides long before we boarded the plane. Then I found the voice notes. Her voice, sweet, soft, familiar, whispered things to Marcus she never whispered to me. About plans. About timing. About a future. She said, once I get him comfortable, once the papers settle, we'll figure out what I can take. Prenup or not, I can get something. Prenup. She knew. She always knew. The villa felt colder. The ocean outside louder. The air itself heavier. I sat back, staring at the screen, feeling a strange stillness wash over me. This wasn't just cheating. This was a strategy. A manipulation. A deliberate plan built on lies and charm and perfectly timed tears. She wasn't the victim she claimed to be. I was. And for the first time since I saw that message preview, I understood something with bone-deep certainty. I wasn't married to a woman who made a mistake. I was married to a woman who made a choice. And now, it was my turn to choose. The next morning in Paris felt colder than it should have. The sun coming through the sheer white curtains painted soft gold strips across the floor, but inside my chest everything was steel and ice. I woke up before Grace. She was turned away from me, curled at the edge of the bed, gripping her pillow like a child afraid of monsters. Maybe she sensed one was lying behind her, me. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because the mask was finally off. There was no going back. Quietly, I stepped out of bed, grabbed the phone I had charged overnight, and reviewed everything again. The messages. The timestamps. The deleted call logs retrieved. The real-time footage. The truth, ugly and bright as daylight. I studied them with the same face I wore during corporate audits. Calm, unreadable, meticulous. But something new had surfaced. A text from an unknown number late last night. She's lying to you. She's done it before. Check Lagos 2022. My heart stuttered. Lagos? 2022? Before I met Grace? The message had no profile picture. No name. No follow-up. It could have been anyone, a troll, a mistake, someone stirring trouble. But it didn't feel random. It felt like someone who knew something. Someone who'd been watching this unfold. I pocketed it for later. Grace stirred, rubbing her eyes. Babe, why are you up? Her voice was small, trembling. Not guilty this time. Scared. I turned, gave her a gentle smile. Couldn't sleep. Wanted to get us breakfast. She sat up, knees to chest. Rob, are you angry with me? I tilted my head. Should I be? Her lips quivered. I told you everything. I stepped closer, brushing a thumb across her cheek. Then you have nothing to worry about. My voice was warm. Steady. Too steady. She blinked, searching my eyes for something. She didn't find it. Not because I hid it well, because she didn't know what she was looking for yet. We got dressed and headed downstairs to the hotel restaurant. She kept glancing at me, trying to read me, but I stayed composed, talking about the Louvre, the food tour I booked, the Seine cruise later. Everything I said was soft, affectionate, controlled. Inside I was rehearsing. Fine-tuning the plan I had begun the moment I saw the footage. The silent revenge she would never see coming. Over breakfast her phone buzzed. She snatched it fast, too fast. Not guilt, fear. I leaned slightly, just enough to see the name, Melissa. her childhood friend she always claimed was too dramatic. The same friend who supposedly didn't know anything about her past relationships. But I remembered something now. During our wedding rehearsal, Melissa had pulled her aside to talk privately. Grace had returned looking pale, shaken, but dismissed it as wedding stress. Back then I never questioned it. Now every crack lit up. "Is everything okay?" I asked casually, sipping my coffee. She nodded, smiling too wide. "Just wedding photos she's sending." I nodded, pretending to accept it. Inside, I bookmarked yet another detail. While she was finishing her croissant, I excused myself. In the hallway, I opened her cloud-linked account again. She had archived a message from Melissa minutes ago. "Does he know about Lagos? Grace, you need to tell him before someone else does." My lungs froze. So it was real. There was more, much more. And this time, I wasn't stopping at just exposing her. I was going to unwind every layer of her deception all the way to the bone. Because she hadn't just cheated on me on our honeymoon. She had betrayed me long before the wedding. ND Paris was about to become the first domino. Please don't forget to subscribe. When we reached the Louvre, something strange happened. Grace became clingy. Almost desperately so. She held my hand tightly, pointing at statues, smiling at me, kissing my cheek, almost as if trying to overwrite something. Trying to repaint guilt with affection. Every time she looked away, I studied her. There's a specific guilt-heavy behavior liars slip into, overperformance. And she was drowning in it. But while she acted like a newlywed in love, I played a different role, the attentive husband. Her safe space. Her anchor. The one she believed she still controlled. We walked through the galleries, the marble floors glistening under warm skylights. Tourists whispered, cameras clicked, but all I heard was the echo of that message. Check Lagos 2022. As she posed in front of the winged victory statue, I received another anonymous text. She destroyed someone's life there. Don't let her destroy yours. My fingers tightened around the phone. Someone was feeding me clues. Someone who hated Grace enough to intervene. I slipped the phone away as Grace walked toward me, looping her arms around my waist. "Can we take one together?" she asked, eyes soft and hopeful. "Of course." I lifted the camera, but instead of taking the selfie, I angled it discreetly to capture her face clearly, her expression, her body language. Evidence building, digital breadcrumbs, all subtle. She smiled beautifully, unaware. We spent 2 hours wandering through hallways of Renaissance paintings and sculptures. While she marveled at art, I pieced together her timeline like a forensic puzzle. At one point, she stepped away to use the restroom. I leaned against a cool stone pillar, checking her cloud again. I found old archived messages from early 2023, 8 months before the wedding. From her ex Delhi. "Grace, Lagos was a mistake, but it's not too late to fix things. You know what we started." From Grace. "I can't go back. I made my choice. He trusts me." My stomach tightened. What did they start? Why fix things? Why Lagos? When she returned, she looked shaken. Not guilty shaken, scared shaken. "Rob, can we leave? I'm feeling overwhelmed." "Sure," I said warmly. "Let's get some air." We stepped outside, the Parisian breeze brushing against us. Grace held my arm like something was hunting her. Maybe she felt it, the truth chasing her down. As we walked toward the Seine, a man in a dark jacket brushed past her and murmured, "You need to tell him." Grace froze, gripping my arm tight. "Rob?" she whispered, trembling. I turned, but the man was gone, lost in the crowd. "What was that about?" I asked. She shook her head violently. "Nothing. Please, can we go back to the hotel?" I studied her. Her pupils were wide. Her breathing sharp. She wasn't lying to deceive now, she was lying to protect herself from something bigger. Something in her past. As we reached the bridge, she pulled me aside, almost crying. "Rob, I love you. I swear I love you. Please don't listen to anyone. Don't believe anything else." A tourist bumped into us, interrupting her breakdown. She didn't continue. I didn't push. But inside, I now knew two things with certainty. Grace wasn't just hiding a cheating incident. She was hiding a history. A history that someone out there desperately wanted me to uncover. That evening, I initiated the next phase of my silent plan. We were scheduled for a Seine River cruise, romantic, candlelit, one of Paris's most scenic experiences. Grace dressed beautifully in a soft peach gown, her hair pinned up, her perfume floral and delicate. She looked like innocence incarnate. But innocence doesn't delete messages at 2 a.m. Innocence doesn't panic when anonymous strangers whisper warnings. On the boat, the soft violin music and warm lantern glow made everything feel surreal. Grace sat beside me, her hand resting on mine, though her fingers trembled. She kept glancing around nervously as if afraid the past might step on board. I decided to test a theory. Grace, I began softly, did you ever travel before, before we met? Her heartbeat practically thumped through her wrist. Just normal trips. Nothing important. I nodded. Ever been to Lagos? She froze. The kind of freeze that happens when the soul momentarily leaves the body. Her eyes flicked to mine, then away. Once? Years ago. Why? I shrugged casually. Just curious. She swallowed. Art. Rob, why would you ask that? I smiled gently. It just came to my mind. But she had already spiraled. Her breathing quickened. She pulled her hand away. Did someone tell you something? Instead of answering, I brushed her jaw softly. I'm with you, Grace. Relax. She stared at me, studying my face, trying to decide if I was suspicious or sincere. She couldn't tell. I made sure of that. Later, as the cruise reached the midpoint, I excused myself to take pictures and stepped toward the back deck. I dialed the unknown number. A man answered immediately. You're calling late, Robbinson? My skin chilled. Who is this? A friend. One who thinks you deserve the truth. How do you know about my wife? A soft exhale. Because she did the same thing to me. Not just me, 2 others. Lagos wasn't a vacation. It was a hunting ground. My grip tightened on the railing. What are you talking about? She finds men with money. She plays perfect. She builds trust. And when she secures the relationship, she goes back to her ex, the man who helps her run the scam. My pulse hammered. You're lying. No, he said calmly. I'm warning you. I pressed harder. What did she do in Lagos? Pause. Then. She ruined a man's career. Claimed he assaulted her. Destroyed his reputation so he would cut ties. When the truth came out, she vanished. And then she did it again with someone else. My world reeled. I stared at my reflection in the dark glass, shattered, distorted. And she's setting you up next, he added. Before I could respond, the line went dead. I turned around and Grace was standing behind me. Eyes wide. Lips trembling. Who were you talking to, Rob? She whispered. Her voice was soft. Too soft. The softness of someone cornered. Someone dangerous. Please don't forget to subscribe. Her eyes darted between my phone and my face, searching for cracks. She took one shaky step closer. Rob, please tell me you didn't believe anything. The Paris night wind lifted her hair, making her look fragile, almost cinematic. But I knew better now. Fragility was her weapon. What exactly shouldn't I believe? I asked quietly. Her face tightened. Whatever he told you. Whoever it was. So you admit someone is trying to tell me things? She swallowed. Yes. What things? She looked down, tears forming. Rob, I have enemies. People who want to destroy my life. A classic deflection. I let her speak. When I was in Lagos, something happened. Something I never told anyone. Tell me now. Her chin trembled. There was a man, a dangerous man. I rejected him. He got obsessed. When I left Lagos, he tried to ruin my name. She sniffed, wiping her cheek. He's still obsessed. And he's lying to you to break us apart. She stepped closer, touching my chest. I need you to believe me. Please. The wind, the river, the music, all quieted as if the city itself leaned in. I studied her, everything micro-expression I had learned from corporate negotiation, every twitch, every flicker of her eyes. She was lying. Not entirely, just enough to reshape the truth into something sympathetic. But she made one fatal mistake. She said he's obsessed. But the voice on the phone wasn't emotional. It was methodical, calculated, precise. The tone of a man wronged, not rejected. Still, I pulled her into my arms, holding her tightly. Grace, I'm with you. She sobbed against my chest, shaking. But while her face was buried, I opened the audio recorder on my phone. Evidence. When the cruise ended, we returned to the hotel. Grace fell asleep instantly, exhausted from fear, guilt, and secrets spiraling out of control. I sat beside her, watching her breathing slow. Then I quietly reached into her purse, took her phone, and opened her hidden messaging folder. And there it was. The real Lagos thread, dating back 3 years. Dozens of messages. Voice notes. Images. Plans. A man named Deli sending her money. Her discussing targets. Her complaining about which men were easier to manipulate. Her asking Deli to handle someone who got suspicious. my blood iced. Grace wasn't a woman who made a mistake. She was a professional manipulator, a practiced deceiver, a woman who thrived on control and extraction. She targeted men. She destroyed those who questioned her. She used her beauty, her sweetness, her perfect wife persona to secure a comfortable life. And I was supposed to be her biggest prize. My fingers shook slightly, not from fear but from a cold, rising clarity. My revenge was no longer emotional. It was strategic. I pulled out my laptop and began the final phase. Financial withdrawals, documented. Legal safeguards, activated. Her secret credit lines, traced. My assets, moved. Her accounts, flagged. Her past, compiled. I wasn't going to expose her in a single explosion. I was going to dismantle her life piece by piece. Quietly. Efficiently. Irreversibly. By morning, Grace Bark would wake up a married woman, with nothing left to her name. Sunrise stretched across Paris like a soft pink omen. Grace was still asleep beside me, completely unaware that her digital world had already collapsed overnight. Her accounts were frozen. Her secret stash accounts reported. Her fraudulent histories submitted anonymously to authorities. Her partners, exposed to each other. Delhi's messages copied and forwarded to a special fraud unit. I watched her sleep, not with hatred but with a strange, weightless calm. She tried to destroy me quietly. So I returned the favor. At 8:12 a.m. her phone buzzed violently. Then again. And again. And again. She jolted awake, grabbing it instinctively. As she unlocked it, her face drained of color. One message after another. Account suspended. Account under investigation. Transaction blocked. Possible fraud detected. Please contact financial authority. We have received a report. Grace's hand flew to her mouth. No, 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 no. I sat at the edge of the bed calmly, sipping hotel coffee. Everything okay? I asked. She looked up at me, eyes wild, full of terror. Rob, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I tilted my head. With what? My accounts, all of them. That's strange. She blinked, confused. Strange? I set down the cup. Why would so many banks freeze your accounts at once? Unless someone reported something. She stared at me. Then it hit her. A slow, dawning horror. You, she whispered. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply held her gaze. Grace, I said softly, you shouldn't run scams on men who know how to trace money. She shook her head violently, crawling back on the bed as if I were a ghost. Rob, please, no, listen, I can explain. You lied to me before the wedding. You used me. You were planning to drain me. No. I love you. Please believe me. Your files say otherwise. Her breathing cracked. Rob, they'll come for me. Delhi will come for me. You don't know what you've done. I stood. Actually, I know exactly what I've done. She reached for my wrist. Rob, please don't leave me, don't let them. I gently removed her hand. You destroyed men for a living, Grace. This time you picked the wrong one. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing, shaking, begging, pleading. But I walked to the door. At the threshold I paused. Grace. She looked up, broken. You said you loved me, I whispered. Just remember, I loved you too. And that's why this hurts less than it should. I left the room, letting the door close slowly, softly, like the final page of a tragedy. In the lobby, I received one last text from the unknown number. She's finished. Good choice walking away. I didn't respond. As I stepped into the street, Paris felt warm again. Light again. Free again. Grace lost everything. But I didn't celebrate. Because revenge, even silent revenge, never ends clean. And something told me her past wasn't done with her yet. Or with me. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share for more interesting stories.